Hey guys, Jay-Sensei here again. This is what if Ichigo was a Jedi. Now this video kind of came to me randomly, but I will be telling you right now that, well, one, I haven't seen Star Wars in a long time. Like, I think the last time I saw it may have been, like, the first episode of the new show on Disney Plus, and that's been it. Everything else, that's a very vague memory for me. So, I wrote down the powers you can find on Google, and yeah. Now, all these powers have set arcs where they will come into play, but here are the powers Ichigo will have before he meets Rukia. 1. Well, sensory, basically. You can just sense people. Later will develop to going beyond dimensions, but only if people, like, he has personally met are in said dimension. Like, he won't sense Yuhaba or anything, but he'll know for a fact Rukia is missing, or where she went missing to. Where else? Pathfinding, which is navigation over all environments. Like, he'll know his way around everything, but he does have to be very tapped into his power. And you kind of just learn that by tapping into the powers of just, well, the powers that he gets the force to basically just a combination of every, like, Quincy, Shinigami, Hollow, all that. Fullbringer. A lot of this power came mainly in combination of Fullbringer and Quincy powers, is where Ichigo mainly gets all this power from, but he still does, like, all that. But yeah, then sky waking, which is basically instinctive reaction. Then what else? Force or presence concealment, which basically is kind of self-explanatory. You conceal your presence, and yeah. Then what else? Oh yeah, environmental telepathy, which just allows him to communicate with plants or anything like that. Anything that has a pulse that is not human, like not a human or like a Shinigami, Ichigo can communicate with it mentally. So yeah. And what else? That's it. Yeah. Like those 5 to 7 abilities. Now, when Ichigo does meet like Rukia and he sees her being attacked, Ichigo's body is a bit, like, stronger, so this does allow him to kind of just fight against the Hollow without using any sort of, like, Shinigami powers, but he's being pushed back heavily. This does impress Rukia, and she still does give him some power. So, yeah. With Ichigo getting power from Rukia, he immediately, you see, appears like this, just no ponytail, because I don't like how it looks on Ichigo. But yeah. Immediately gets this appearance, and his Zanpakuto doesn't have a hilt. This does confuse Rukia until Ichigo decided to try to make a blade, and she's like, that doesn't happen before, just try to get a blade somehow. And Ichigo's thought was a blade. And with this, a bit of Fullbringer and Quincy powers combined would actually create a blade made from Reishi. Immediately as soon as it hit the Hollow, it died on impact. Like, he couldn't, like, it killed him. And here's how this happens. Ichigo's power with the blade, is an instant kill shot for anyone weaker than he is. If they're, like, significantly weaker, that is. Not like, oh, I'm like 1/3 weaker than you. Like you're 2/3, I'm 1/3 of that. And Ichigo's like, oh, one shot, you're dead. No, it's more like Ichigo doesn't really need to use a sword. He can just soul crush you, and that's about it. Like, he can just use his Reishi and kill you right then and there. Like how Yamamoto used his Reishi to just shut Nanao down. If Ichigo could do that, he can kill you in one attack with his Zanpakuto without even using, like, Shikai or Bankai. In fact, he doesn't have Shikai or Bankai. It's just literally just he evolves the shape of his Zanpakuto with how well he trains his body and his mind. So yeah. The Hollow Mask is still something that he gets. It just changes the color of his Reishi. Like, instead of it being blue, it'll turn red or black. So yeah. But with this, Rukia's pretty surprised. Asks Ichigo, like, how'd he kill it? He says he doesn't know. This does lead to the Substitute Shinigami arc beginning, and honestly, this arc is so boring that I don't really care about going over it. So yeah, Substitute Shinigami arc. And this is where Ichigo would unlock the powers of being able to unlock a light speed reaction. So light speed reaction, wayfinding, wayfinding is the ability to lock onto a single object or person. If it emits energy, basically, he can lock onto it. What else? What else? I have a few abilities on here. Telekinesis. He would unlock that. So I think it's a very generic force ability that we all know. So Ichigo can do that, but only with objects about as small as Rukia. So yeah, but he can also hover himself above the ground. So yeah. Then he physical enhancement, but he enhances his physical power and his physical tolerance, like pain tolerance and all that. And then he would also unlock a technological bond, but also animal bond. So yeah. Like, he has a natural bond with animals, but also a natural understanding of technology and such stuff like that. And he basically made a holster that basically just kind of absorbs reishi. This is after he met Urahara and all of that. Urahara helped him make it. But we just realize that Ichigo doesn't know anything about it until he experiences what the technology is. But it does impress him pretty significantly. And as long as Ichigo carried around the container that could absorb reishi for him, he doesn't have to use his own to form it. If Ichigo touches it, his body would kind of instantaneously convert to reishi. So yeah, so he doesn't need Cone for anything, unless he actually doesn't want to get physically harmed and his body to incur the same injuries. Ichigo has his human form and reishi form. He can just swap in and out of the forms, or leave behind one body if he doesn't want that body to be severely damaged. But in the substitution Shinigami arc, Ichigo doesn't really need Cone. Cone is more like he has a fascination with Ichigo's force, and Ichigo is wanting to learn how to teach it. Like, he wants to learn how to spread it to even someone like Rukia or his sisters. So yeah, Ichigo's kind of teaching Cone, wondering if he can teach it to Cone. All Cone's able to learn is basically force sensory and pathfinding. So yeah. But yeah. Ichigo would also learn psychometry, which is basically review the past of objects. I wrote renew. I don't know why, but yeah. Is that an R or a really weird V? I cannot tell, but who cares? And yeah, that's all the powers Ichigo has. Now, this arc, Chad and Orihime do also awaken to their powers. And due to them all being so close to Ichigo, they're also able to basically unlock basically force sensory and pathfinding as generic abilities. Now, it does go on to the probably the Substitute Shinigami arc. Not Substitute Shinigami arc, I mean the Soul Society arc, where they're there to rescue Rukia. And immediately when Rukia is being taken by Renji and Renji and Byakuya. When Byakuya or Renji would first slash on Ichigo, I forgot who it was, I don't really care too much. But when they do try it the first time, Ichigo would block the slash and attack them. And it does lead to a very quick altercation. And Renji was the one to cut down Ichigo, telling Byakuya that if he survives that attack, he will grow very strong in a matter of short amount of time. He's if he's able to recover and train for at least he gives Ichigo a week to a month to attain the power of maybe a high level lieutenant. It's a very big if he survives, because Renji just went immediately Shikai around his body and nearly cut him in half. So yeah. But Ichigo's smart enough to know that when Rukia was in danger, he should leave his main body behind. So immediately he just was able to forcefully convert to his original body. So yeah, when he does wake up in that body, he stands up basically wobbling around, but he does realize that he's not as injured. His body is just in a severe amount of pain. So yeah. Now, Urahara does agree to train Ichigo, where he would unlock a whole new set of abilities, but also, due to his control over his mind, the chain thing is done in maybe 2-3 hours. So Ichigo's mind is already pure enough, settled enough to him just resist that and get a decent control over his hollow mask, and kind of push it to the back of his mind, metaphorically, but also in a literal sense, since he can do that. So yeah. But now we're actually getting intense. I'm going to go over more abilities, because, well, honestly, that's kind of all Ichigo has right now. This arc isn't really getting too interesting just yet. But what would Ichigo learn? Force stasis, where he can freeze physical or non-physical objects in place, such as laser beams or objects like swords. So yeah. What else? Force shield, kind of. There's a different technique. Force shield basically just encourages him to. It makes people look away from his direction, like he basically like from his general direction. Like someone's gonna walk by a wall he's hiding behind, immediately he can activate this, and they'll just turn around or not even look his way. So they can just avoid his general direction. What else? Energy refresh or healing. That's a very big technique because Ichigo kind of used refresh to, I don't know, refresh. Well, first body enhance, but then also he would learn healing to more or less heal his own mind and body. So yeah, but energy refresh more or less allows him to refresh his energy if he can meditate for long enough. This also does allow him to attain a similar bond that Komamura has with Daigen with his Zanpakuto, like Daigen Myo and all that. So yeah, like that ability where he can more or less, if he takes damage because Zanpakuto took damage, he can more or less regenerate his Zanpakuto without having to have it remade or fixed. Ichigo is kind of on his way to attaining that. What else? Yeah, that's about it, actually. So, yeah. Now, Ichigo and his friends do make their way to the Soul Society, and they all learn the general abilities of Ichigo's force, where it's like, telekinesis, pathfinding, skywaking, all that. So, yeah. Telekinesis as well. They can, just use it on something as small as, maybe we got the advertised side of a katana, more or less. So, yeah. What else? Oh, yeah. Now, we go on to the Soul Society arc, and, well, they still end up training to, make sure that the bulb doesn't, the ball that they're using to get shot out of a firefly, like a cannon, doesn't break. And say somehow it does shatter. Like, Ichigo's reishi is too strong, and he didn't know that. So, yeah. Now, they all get separated, but Ichigo's someone who just basically just lands on his feet when he falls. As he's just very much aware of where Rukia is, and he knows he's going to be okay so far. And when it does come across Squad 11, well, simply put, Ichigo's bare knuckle brawling is simply enough for him to throw around that entire squad, including Shikai Ikaku. Remember, Ichigo kind of makes fun of him by pulling out his Zanpakuto. Oh, and, well, I'll say the hilt is mainly where Zangetsu, where the both Zangetsu reside. That's kind of where they mainly reside. That's an actual Shinigami tool. But, yeah. But still, Ichigo pulls it out and kind of extends it as he has the tip of it as look like a spear. Ichigo means wielding it like a spear. With this, Ichigo and Ikaku do fight. But he does kind of impaling Ikaku through the thigh and then elbowing him in the face into a wall, which does end the fight with Ikaku right then and there. But Ikaku didn't really land a single blow, not even grazing Ichigo once. Ikaku's on the ground realizing how horribly and how easily he lost. He kind of feels ashamed. But, yeah. This arc goes on with Ichigo kind of beating everyone. He doesn't go for Chad or something like that against Shunsui. Shunsui would try to basically use his sword against Chad. Or Zanpakuto against Chad. Chad literally just threw one sword to the side and Shunsui's amidst of him being surprised, just gets uppercutted into the now. Just gets uppercutted straight into the now and just knocks her out indirectly. This annoys Shunsui, but now Chad realizes that Shunsui doesn't expect this telekinesis. So he's finding the smallest objects on Shunsui's body, then using telekinesis on those. Be it the hairpins of Shunsui's hair. Those are very much valued to him. So, if they're lost, he freaks out over it. He gets advantage of Shunsui just tearing everything important off of him using telekinesis. And he just keeps nailing Shunsui as hard as he can, just constantly. By the end of it, Shunsui says he's coughing up blood because he would have a few broken bones from how hard Chad is hitting him constantly. But eventually, he just tells Chad that he has no time to mess around with Chad's stupid abilities, and immediately activates a Shikai, where Chad is ultimately defeated pretty quickly. And then now let's see how beat up Sensei is, and she's like, how'd you allow him to beat you? He's not even lieutenant level. He's like, I don't know how he did it, but he says he has telekinesis. And he kept throwing everything important off of my body or tripping me up with my shoes. He wouldn't throw them off, he just tripped me up with them. So he kind of kept messing with me in a way that mentally I could not stand. So he nailed me good. So yeah. And Uryu is more awakened to force abilities, because a lot of Ichigo's force abilities do come from Quincy power. So, yeah. So Uryu is able to more or less, use techniques like physical enhancement. And this allows him to actually surpass Nemu and beat her pretty soundly with a bit of Orihime's help. But then when it comes to just fighting Mayuri, Mayuri's actually a bit impressed by how strong Uryu is. And Uryu's actually able to blow off one of Mayuri's arms with an arrow. But this does lead to Mayuri kind of just going all out and using Bankai and beating them both. So yeah, so Uryu never had a chance to wait. Yeah, no, wrong arc. I think. Yeah, I haven't watched Bleach in a while, besides Thousand Year Blood War. But going on. We go on to just, Ichigo and Squad going their own ways. And we're probably going to go on to the next fight being Ichigo versus Kenpachi. I think Renji comes after this a bit, though. It comes a bit after this. But, yeah. Ichigo and Kenpachi fight. As they fight, Ichigo's kind of growing more and more aware. As he's been more telling Kenpachi, no, I don't have time for this. I don't want to fight you right now. And Ichigo goes a bit more desperate to save Rukia. Ichigo's eyes would kind of turn red. And his Zanpakuto would do the same. Or his quote-unquote Zanpakuto. I'll also try to call it a Reishi Blade. Ichigo's Reishi Blade would then grow red, and even turn to the actual size of Ichigo's canonical, Shikai blade. And Ichigo would slash down Kenpachi, almost basically just flinging Nozarashi into the ground, and then impaling Kenpachi to the side. As he just yells, I told you I don't have time for this, as he uppercuts Kenpachi into a building. Kenpachi falls down, spitting out blood, mainly because one, he was impaled, two, he didn't have time to go all out, or quote-unquote all out. He didn't have time to take off his eye patch. He would take off his eye patch right then and there, jumping at Ichigo, not even grabbing his Zanpakuto, grabbing Ichigo by the face, throwing him around. This does piss off Ichigo a lot. And Ichigo would immediately try to basically just grab his Zanpakuto, Kenpachi's Zanpakuto, grabbing Nozarashi, and deciding to more or less wield it himself. As he would use telekinesis to more or less allow him to wield it properly. And he begins cutting up Kenpachi using his own blade. And with this, Kenpachi is ultimately defeated by Ichigo. But Ichigo had the blade into Kenpachi's hand, driving it all the way into the ground, leaving only the hilt exposed through Kenpachi's hand. But Ichigo had seen the past of Nozarashi, as he mumbles to Kenpachi. With how aggressive you are, you're nowhere near unlocking your full potential with that blade. And Kenpachi realizes that this is likely one of the meditation abilities that Yamamoto told him about, which did know Kenpachi that he's not as strong as he could be because he refuses to meditate. So Kenpachi realizes that reluctantly he will have to, meditate. Be calm, so to say. Next fight is Ichigo versus Renji. Ichigo's already a bit exhausted because he's kind of a bit physically beat up, and he doesn't have time to just sit around and heal. So with this, he fights Renji. As he and Renji fight, Renji was right. Ichigo had reached not captain. Well, actually, no, we kind of did reach captain level, but I would say that he can probably he can beat Komamura, but facing a Bankai captain will be a different story. Facing a base or Shikai captain will be one thing. Bankai is a different thing. So yeah. But he did end up beating Renji, and did tell Renji that he's pretty powerful. But Renji did still take advantage of Ichigo not being aware of his Shikai's full ability, which Ichigo did watch out for this time. But Renji caught him off guard, pretty badly cut up his shoulder. That's about it. But Ichigo still beat him. Ichigo goes into the sewers, camps out, hides, realizes his friends are captured, but doesn't know who to say first. And in this of Ichigo being a bit worried about his friends, he does activate telepathy, and they can tap into it as well because it's a strong force presence. And they still Ichigo, don't worry about them. Just go for Rukia, and he understands that. Now with this, we go on to Ichigo and his friends. Not Ichigo and his friends, but mainly Ichigo and Hataro. I'm pretty sure, yeah. Hataro helps Ichigo heal faster, and Ichigo would break out faster. But Yoruichi had found him, brought Ichigo to train, giving Ichigo about an extra day to train. So, yeah. It tells Ichigo that fighting Byakuya right now is not his best idea. It tells Ichigo that maybe he handled Jiraki, who is pretty strong, but she's not confident in his abilities beyond, like, Shikai captain level. Which Ichigo had to basically just get pissed off at to win. So she would teach Ichigo basically just a lot more abilities, like, what was the name of it? Shunpo, a bit more of Hakuda, all that. And Ichigo doesn't really need a Bankai. He can just like, depending on his emotional state and how strong and how much power he has left, he can just change the shape and power of his blade. So, yeah. But he would unlock a technique named Shatterpoint, which allows him to locate weak point in objects or people. So, yeah, that. What else? Mind Trick, which allows him to basically just trick weaker minds, like the Jedi mind trick. What else? The barrier technique, where you basically just make a barrier made of the Force, or right now it's own Reishi, but it's invisible. Then what else? Oh yeah, Force Lightning. He unlocks that as well. So yeah. But now Ichigo would go to fight Byakuya, and he arrives first, just in front of the captains, and not captains, I mean they're lieutenants. Ichigo's able to use Jedi mind trick on them all to basically make them all just fall to their knees, asleep or just dizzy, not wanting to fight. Like basically just kind of just like, oh, I don't like. He's like, you don't want to fight me. They're like, I don't want to fight you. And a few of them, like Isane falls asleep straight up. But this leaves Chojuro, who's like basically sweaty and tired, but says, "Nice try." Knowing he can't hold back, he just yells "Bankai." But before he can even say the name of it, Ichigo just palm striked him right in the chin, shattering it and knocking him out. With that, Chojuro's knocked out, and Ichigo would appear on Rukia's stand, on it just says her execution hospital, whatever it was, and Ichigo just force lightnings it and burns it away. He'll catch Rukia, who fell, and immediately will free her. Now, she's not really as powerful as she could be, but Ichigo would basically he tries to give her back some of the power, as she told him how to do it, and he would unlock steps to one of his further powers, but he would give Rukia some of her Reishi back, allowing her to actually summon her Zanbakuto again and her Shinigami attire. Now when Byakuya arrives, her and Byakuya do fight for a second, but he just shoos her away, just swats her away, leaving him and Ichigo to fight. Now as Ichigo and Byakuya do fight, well, simply put, Ichigo using his base, just Reishi blade that resembles a lightsaber, they fight like almost on equal terms, even Byakuya using Shikai. Then he realizes that Ichigo's using some sort of barrier. And the way Ichigo's using a barrier resembles very much so Gojo's Infinity. Like, he just has it around him to the point where nothing can get through the barrier unless it's directly in front of him where his blade is. So yeah. Byakuya tries to realize that he has to keep Ichigo at a distance, but Ichigo is so fast and can make himself much faster that Byakuya can't get away from him. So Byakuya realizes his Shikai is basically just voided right then and there, which makes him want to use Bankai. And he does. But the thing is, Ichigo just expands the barrier and makes it so he's nearly impenetrable. A few of the blades do sneak by, but they're barely able to even graze Ichigo. But when Ichigo does it close up to Byakuya, he just grabs him by the face and uses Force Lightning, electrocuting his entire body, but focusing on his face. Byakuya just have a pretty serious burn mark on one side of his face, But then Ichigo proceeds to stab him right through the stomach, not fatally, but and then enough to make Byakuya fall to the ground. But with that, Byakuya's Bankai is done, and Ichigo's kind of panting, having a few small scratch marks, but Byakuya having the more serious injuries. Let the rest of the Gotei 13 arrive, and especially Aizen, which makes Ichigo and Aizen still have their small scuffle. And when Aizen does try to catch Ichigo's blade, Ichigo just basically cancels out for a second, and swinging it right at Aizen's face, leaving a small scar across his eye, or kind of around his eye area. Actually, not around his eye area. To make it more impactful, I've been giving him a scar resembling Itadori's right now in the manga, which does shock Aizen, but Aizen really just punts Ichigo, just across the Seirei, and Ichigo just lands in a ditch in front of just a few members of Division 4. And Aizen's a bit pissed, but tells them they're allowed to live for now, as him, Gin, and Tozen do leave. So, yeah. But this is where you're ready to get to Post-Soul Society arc, and Ichigo does have to definitely recover from Aizen kicking the living shit out of him, so, yeah. Now, I'm going to pause here for this what if, but I'm telling you right now, Ichigo and his friends are training in the Seirei, and Ichigo himself is personally training with someone like a Yamamoto, who's very intrigued by these abilities. Mainly Yamamoto and Mayuri, because Mayuri is their main scientist right now, so, yeah. But Yamamoto's questioning if he should invite Urahara back, so Urahara can fill them in on what these powers may be. So, yeah. If you guys enjoyed, like and subscribe for more. Adios.